In 1989, I had a harrowing experience. Nothing death-defying, but something that shook my confidence and almost made me give up on my dream. And quite honestly, there's nothing worse than that. Because without your dreams, without a purpose in life, what is life all about? So, this was serious. I was 31 years old, living in Sydney in the beautiful community of Whale Beach on the northern beaches. And life was great. I was happy, and then I went to a horsemanship clinic with my now ex-husband. That's a whole other story, which you probably know from following me here. And it changed my life in more ways than one. First of all, it helped me learn how to treat horses like I treat people. And it took me on a 30-plus year journey of teaching this philosophy all over the world. Secondly, it caused me to come face to face with people who tried to intimidate me and make me give up on something that I knew in my heart and soul was the right direction for me. I'd never before had to deal with intimidation, not at this level, and it was really, really hard. Have you ever experienced intimidation like that from your peers, your family, your spouse, your boss, your employees, your friends, or people on the internet that have never even met you and don't know you at all? I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And maybe, if we can be totally honest with ourselves, we may even have intimidated someone along the way too. You know, like our spouse, kids, employees, boss, family, maybe even a friend, on purpose or not. In these 3 parts of our episode on winning through intimidation, we're going to explore some important elements concerning intimidation. So there I was in 1989, totally excited by the transformation I'd experienced with my horse, because I did something totally different from normal, but it worked. I had no idea then that in the near future, I would play a key role in natural horsemanship becoming a worldwide phenomenon. But back then, I might as well have been called a witch. And I was burned at the stake many times. Doing something different from the norm is almost always met with suspicion and doubt. Well-meaning people worry that you're going down the wrong path and try to warn you about possible perils, even though they may have no way to know what might happen. And not so well-meaning people feel threatened by you doing something different. Maybe it's because now you have nothing in common, or maybe it questions what they're doing. Who really knows? And some people, like my instructor, who has helped me fix ongoing significant problems, is humbled in the face of my success by taking a different approach. I'm not sure what to call that. Is it jealousy, insecurity, some kind of self-protection? I don't know. But I've actually experienced all of the above. But here's something interesting that took me a little while to realize. The only ones who approved of my new approach were my horses. Now, even though I'm recounting a story that involves my horsemanship philosophy and growth, you could insert just about any subject here, like dietary and health choices, exercise programs, child rearing, religion, business practices, politics, marketing approaches, you name it. No matter the subject, I want to share with you a very interesting journey in self-confidence and self-assurance, because it is events and experiences like this that propel us up the road of personal development. Even though I'm not an insecure person, I still care about the opinions and thoughts of others, and sometimes more than I should. And sometimes from those who have no business giving me advice. More on that later. Here's what happened in 1989. I returned from that horsemanship clinic excited to share what I learned, but only to be met with resistance and disdain from everyone, fellow riders, barn owner, my instructor, all except one person. Her name was Chrissy. She saw the change in my relationship with my horses and immediately said she wanted to know more. That wasn't the case for everyone else. The next few months were just awful. My barn mates, my instructor was so critical, they made me feel stupid, and I ended up hiding behind the bushes practicing my natural horsemanship techniques because I didn't want them to see me. Even worse was the agony in the night. Suddenly, my passion for riding my horses before and after work was being threatened by my insecurity in the face of these critics. Somehow, I thought their opinions were really important. One evening, feeling distraught about the whole thing, I was pacing in front of my bookcase looking for help. I was already heavily into personal growth, and I had many books from famous motivational and personal growth teachers on my bookshelf, but nothing in any of the titles was speaking to me. And then something happened that I just cannot explain. I moved some books to the side and all of a sudden, one of them fell off the shelf and onto the floor. I went to pick it up, and I looked at the title as I started to put it back on the shelf. Winning Through Intimidation, it said, in big letters across the cover, by Robert Ringer and published in 1984. My first reaction was a bit negative because I interpreted the title as winning using intimidation, but I quickly realized what it was about when I read the back of the cover. What was really weird is that I didn't know I had that book. I don't remember buying it. I know I had never read it. And what was it doing on my shelf and now in my hands? That is something I'll never be able to explain. It was some kind of perfect divine intervention, I guess. Given my emotional unrest due to the situation at the barn, where everything I now thought was right was being challenged and criticized, I sat down and started reading it right away. And even though this was more of a business book, the personal development advice was pivotal for me. Ringer explained what intimidation is, why you become intimidated, and how you can avoid the mental lapses that occasionally cause even the most confident people to become intimidated. Rather than feeling stupid and insecure and doubting myself, it made me realize that I was making other people's opinions more important than mine, and I was allowing myself to feel intimidated by them. Wow. Okay, stop right now. I had to think about what is important here. Does this feel right to me? What do my horses think? Maybe those people are feeling intimidated by what I'm doing. I made the mistake of thinking that they would be interested in learning what I had just discovered that was so transformational for me. But I was wrong. They were more interested in staying comfortable with what they knew, even if what they were doing was not really that comfortable or successful. The next day, I started looking for another barn to move to. Why stay in this toxic environment? I had a choice, and I exercised it. I moved. You know this. You can't change people. You have to be the change or make change. And you have to be in a place where you can flourish within that change. In the next part, we're going to talk about considering the source.